on the 12th day of Christmas, Boris Johnson gave me an election. Wasn't that kind? Now, it's being touted as a once-in-a-generation election, giving voters the chance to have their say on what happens next with Brexit. But with Christmas parties, school nativity plays and maybe even bad weather all on the cards around that time, not to mention so many of us being fed up with politics, do we need to give people a reason to head to the polls by fining them for not voting? Brenda.
Brenda.
OK, so I have never voted.
Are you seeing?
We did the same thing.
I knew you lot would come for me. I knew it.
That was an audible gasp.
OK, let me explain. It's been 3 years. OK, look, it's been 3 years, this whole Brexit thing. For me, I've never understood what it's about, and it's obviously taken 3 years, and they've still not decided what it's about or if it's going through. And I'm the person that's like, I wish that there'd be more effort, the same amount of effort that they've put into stopping Brexit, which so many people voted for stay or leave. So many people voted anyway, excluding me. But I just wish that there'd be more effort put into things like tackling gun crime, tackling the mental health situation, as what they're putting into fighting this whole Brexit thing. But I just don't believe that they know left, right, which way they're going. It's really confusing.
That's what your vote's for.
But
your vote...
So calm. I love that.
Your vote is to implement change, to say, I'm not happy with what's going on, and your vote is there. That is, for me, it's the basic tenet of living in a democracy, is that we get to vote. So 100 years ago last year, women only got the vote. We've only had the vote for 100 years, Brenda.
I've spoken to women who have voted and they're still... Yeah, but I've spoken to people who have voted and they have no confidence. They've told me they have no confidence.
Well, I think the thing is that people voted for Brexit and the government haven't delivered it. So, of course, everybody's a bit, well, what are we voting for? Because you're not listening to us anyway.
Well, that's why we're having an election, because we've got what we're now calling a zombie parliament, because they're completely paralysed by the fact that neither side has a majority. So every time Boris Johnson tries to get through Brexit, he gets thwarted by the other people in the House. There's not enough people to push it through. So he now wants to go to an election and just say, right, you need to vote. The interesting thing here is it going to be a general election that's solely about Brexit, or is it going to be a general election like we all understand it, which is basically 650 mini-elections? So you live in the Ealing, what is it? I wrote it down. Ealing Central and Acton constituency. You have a female MP called Dr. Rupa Hook, who is very good, and she's very active locally. She's a Labour MP. She's got a majority of 13,000. Right. Now, so I can kind of forgive you that if you didn't vote, because she's probably doing all right anyway. But there are some constituencies where there's only 2 votes. Oh. So there's in North East Fife, the SNP hold the seat by 2 votes. So if those 2 people then didn't go and vote, they could lose that seat. It's so important to vote,
It is important,
Brenda.
but it's also important to me to be able to understand what I'm voting for. And nobody seems to be explaining that to me.
But what I would say is look at your local MP, who I've just described. There's a great website. There's lots of websites, actually, but there's a great website called theyworkforyou.com, and it will tell you your local MP and their voting record. And she's very active on... there's closure plans for your local hospital. She's very active in trying to stop those plans. So, if anything, if you don't want to look at the Westminster bubble side of it, vote for which local MP you think is going to do well for your area.
I mean, I'm quite frustrated, but then relieved watching this debate, because I actually can't vote, and it's been kind of frustrating to feel unempowered when you see all this going on and it's palpable what's going on. I mean, it's just endless. I was just saying back there, it's kind of like some horrendous relationship I was in my 20s, where it's like, it's in, it's out, he's calling, he's not calling, no one, you're in like a holding pattern. But it is quite frustrating, because it's the future of this nation, and it's a big deal. Also, I think it's weird that Boris Johnson looks like Donald Trump's cousin, but that's a side note.
But what will be interesting is that when we had the Brexit vote, a lot of the people that voted to leave the EU were from the Labour heartlands. And in a general election, a lot of them would automatically vote Labour, but Labour are kind of sort of a bit ambivalent about Brexit. So what Boris Johnson has to do, if he wants to get back in with a majority, is to persuade people who voted Labour pretty much all their lives to vote Conservative.
Well, a way of getting me back in is to show me some results on the other things that have been
So
promised.
you won't see results unless you vote.
Has Jane in any way swayed you?
Well, maybe we have to have a one-to-one session.
I'm coming to your house.
I love this.
I'm coming to your house
you know
on
what?
December the 12th.
There's no fun.
I'm marching you to the polling station.
Speaking of
I will
polls,
watch
we
that.
have our own poll result here. We said, will you be voting in the December election? You are not alone, Brenda.
Okay.
Because 13% said they wouldn't be, but 87% said they would. So you are kind of alone. That's what, 1 in 10? Yeah, well, I knew that. I worked that out on my brain.